Oil change videos are something that every single YouTube channel has basically done, at least every single automotive YouTube channel. But regardless of that, I think we're gonna go through and do one today. Today we have the Infiniti that needs an oil change quite dearly because the service reminder has popped up 2, 3, 4, 5 or more times already. So I think it's definitely due for an oil change. So what we'll do today is that oil change. To get us started today, we're actually using all products that you can find on partsavatar.ca. We have some liquid moly oil and we have a fresh wicks filter. Up next, I'm going to tell you what tools you need in order to get this oil change done. So let's go into the tools that we need here today. Starting off, we have our socket set. Simple socket set, just with the sockets that we need and a ratchet will do just fine. With doing an oil change, we can just get away with using ramps just like these. These will typically support the weight of your vehicle, especially if you don't have a huge truck or something like that. Any sedan, small SUV, crossover, hatchback, these little ramps will hold it up just fine. Up next, obviously a fresh filter. You want to make sure you're replacing your oil filter every time you're doing your oil. It makes sure that the oil stays clean and filtered when running through your engine. And last but not least, some fresh oil. Make sure that the oil that you get is the correct grade, such as here we're using 5W30 oil, and it meets all the specifications for your vehicle. If we take a closer look here, we can see that this oil does meet the Nissan and Infiniti specifications. So it'll be perfect for the VQ35DE motor that the Infiniti M35X has. A few other items that you obviously need to get an oil change done is the drain pan. You don't want oil spilling all over your floor. And a funnel. A funnel just makes things easier. I know there's a few people that say no funnel gang, but then you spill your oil all over the place and it's a bit of a mess. A few other items that I personally recommend using is gloves. Let's keep our hands nice and clean. We don't want them dirty and grimy for when we're touching our phones after. And I highly recommend a garage creeper. It lets me maneuver and kind of get under the car easier without straining my back. Yeah, we all get old. From this socket set, all we need is this ratchet and this 14mm socket. The Infiniti has a 14mm drain plug. This coincides with most Japanese vehicles, but it's best to check your owner's manual to see what size you need. Or, worst case, try them all. It might take you all day, but at least you'll know what size you need. And last but not least, we need the car. So now that we've cleaned up the space a little bit, we can set up our ramps and we can get the car properly on the ramps to get this oil change going. It's quite easy here because we can see the lines from the tires previously driving into the garage, and that's what we'll line these ramps up with. Let's make sure that these ramps are somewhat even, and then we can bring the car in. Now with the help of a friend, lead the car in right on the ramps. Perfect. Up next, we want to pop the hood now that we have the car up. Your hood release is typically found here under the front dash. Pop it, and your hood is open. Nice and easy. Now, once your hood is popped, use the little hood release latch at the front to open it and gain access to your front hood or your engine bay. Up next, we want to unscrew and loosen the filler cap just to relieve pressure off the top, but have it just covered so nothing falls in while we let the oil out. Now let's get under the car and find where the drain plug and the oil filter is found. Let's swap to the other camera. Looking now underneath the car, let's find the oil pan and the drain plug. Looks like they're both under this cover, which means let's get some screwdrivers or something and get this under panel or under tray off. In order to get this under tray off, we have a few 10mm bolts and a few zip ties holding the under tray on. Let's try to get these off to gain access to the drain plug and the oil filter. So here we have a few 10mm bolts that we have to do. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So let's not tighten these bolts, let's get them off. And I'll speed through this process of just taking each of these individual ones off. And then once we have this tray off, we'll continue. Well, under here we have the oil filter. And right here we have the drain plug, as you can see. Let me get a better shot of it. It's this item right here. Boom. That's the drain plug right there. That's the drain plug. That's our oil filter. Let's get that 14mm socket so we can get that off. And then let's remove this oil filter. You can do this one of two ways. You can either take off the oil filter first, put on the fresh one, and then dump the oil, or you can do it the other way around. So let's see which way we decide to do it. So here we have the brand new filter. It is a Wix filter, available on partsavatar.ca. And here's our fresh filter. What we'll do is we'll grab a little bit of fresh oil to put it around right here, and then we'll install it on the car. So what we're going to do here is we're going to open up the fresh new oil, grab some from the inside, and just lubricate our seal in here. So what some people do is actually they fill this with oil and install it, but because we have a side install, we want to avoid doing that. Let's start with taking off our old oil filter. Keep in mind, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Now that we have that off, we can get the drain plug out as well and let that oil start draining. So now let's get that fresh oil filter on. Fits like a glove. And you can double check the torque specifications in your owner's manual. And now we can get to taking off that drain plug. Alright, let's grab that 14mm socket now. And fits like a glove, and get this thing off. Look, nicely loosened, and we can drain it nice and easy. Let's try to not make a mess here, because this oil is quite hot. So there we go, starts dripping, and then we let it out. Boom. There we go. Let's wait for it to all drain out. Now that the oil has finished draining and it's just at a slow drip, let's clean up under there. Make sure that if we have a new gasket to put on our drain plug, we do that. And we slowly start threading it in. A few additional items are some cars can come with a magnetic drain plug, so check if partsavatar.ca has a magnetic drain plug for you. That way you can manage and maintain and see if there's any metal components that end up in your oil. Now let's go online and check what the torque spec is for this drain plug. Typically it's around 14 to 20 foot-pounds of torque. So not a huge amount. And we can tighten it up. Boom, boom. Make sure that the crush washer gets crushed. Or if you don't have one, don't worry about it. Just go to the specified torque specifications. And then we can move back to the top of the car. Now we have the whole under tray back installed. Let's get back up top and fill the car with oil. Now that we're done underneath the car, let's move over the filler cap, get ourselves a funnel, and let's pour in the specified amount of oil. This Infinity takes 5 quarts of oil. This has 5.28 quarts, but the Infinity burns a little bit of oil, so we'll give her a little bit of extra because she'll burn it off. As we can see, this is the Liqui Moly Gen, so it's nice and green. Some people say it almost looks like coolant. Now that we are done filling up, the last few drops, we can close it up, check the level on the dipstick, and we're basically done. Tighten your oil cap till tight. Let's grab a paper towel of some sort to wipe off the dipstick. Grab the dipstick out, which in this car is a little bit annoying to do. Wipe it down. Reinsert it. Now, with it all clean and fresh, let's pull it out. Check the level of oil. As we can see, it's nice and full. Moly Gen stuff is very clean and green. And now let's start the car, double check the level, and go from there. So what do you do with all your used oil? Best thing to do is take one of your old used containers, pour the oil in there, and take it to one of the recycling plants in your city. This is the best thing to do as it's the most eco-friendly option, and then the oil gets recycled, reused, or repurposed. I'll leave the information in the description of the video where you can do this, or where you can find that information. So now that you're done your oil change, make sure to track down the mileage. And then some vehicles, you'll actually have a menu for your maintenance. So in the Infinity, we go to Info, Maintenance, Engine Oil, and then we can do every 5,000, reset distance, done, back, oil filter. Let's do the 5,000, reset distance, back, and that's all. Now, your car will remind you to change your oil, and make sure to write down your mileage as well. So, that's all you need to do to change the oil on your own car. You can find the parts that we used today at partsavatar.ca or in the description below. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.
Remember, Parts Avatar has got your back, so don't forget to subscribe to the Parts Avatar channel so you don't miss any of these exciting videos.